This is Thriving Chiropractors. We're chiropractors supporting chiropractors and talking to chiropractors that are thriving beyond the four walls of their practice. This is Dr. Austin Cohen with Thriving Chiros Podcast, hosted by Life Alumni Association. We're here with Dr. Bob Bacon over here in Atlanta as well, and super excited to talk to him. He's mentored a lot of chiropractors before, so this is going to be a great conversation to have. And one thing we do at Thriving Chiros is help you not just survive, but also to thrive. So thanks for being here today, Dr. Bob.
Oh, brother, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we kind of go right into it, by the way, just so you know, for these podcasts.
Do it.
And so one of the first questions we like to ask is, if you look back on your career as being a chiropractor, and you think of like a pivotal moment or a decision you made that kind of transformed you to the success you've had right now, what's some of the advice and something you would give back to everybody?
Well, I'll tell you what, when you get done with school, we get out of there. And I was at a time when we had the D'Onofrios, these great mentors, Downs was in there and Rao, and they're still out there, but like they were getting their hands on. We had so much of hands-on and understanding what we did. I can remember the very first time I put my hands on somebody, adjusted their neck. I'm sure you can too. I can remember it was Trey Hood, and we're down in the training room. So I was an athletic trainer, then became a chiropractor. And I felt like they meshed so well together, but I didn't really know how and why, because I wasn't really into the chiropractic stuff. I knew I went, and we had a family friend that was a chiropractor, so I got to go to him on a regular basis. But when I was able, I can remember putting my hands on his neck, and he goes, "Okay, right there, doc." And I was probably like second or third quarter, and I was in the training room, and I just loudly flexed, and I'm holding that neck in my hands, and he just closed his eyes, and he said, "Okay, now thrust." And you put that move into that neck. It's the first time you feel like the power that you have and the energy and the understanding of what we do in our profession. So the first pivotal moment would be me understanding that when I first opened my practice, I was hearing nothing but pain management. And I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, how do I stay positive and upbeat all the time if all I'm hearing about is people complaining about this pain, that pain, all these different conditions, which, by the way, when we finished school, it was refer out anyway, right? If you have diabetes, we're not treating diabetes. We're actually trying to support the body's own function to improve, right? This is the idea behind this. So I came up with what we call a total body assessment. And total body nutrition. So what we do is we don't even give them a chance to tell us what's wrong. We tell them, hide your nose. Yep. You may have heard Lisa say this. Hide your nose. Let's get on the table and let's go through and see what the body is doing so that we can utilize the knowledge that we have and understand the visceral somatic or somatovisceral. I mean, that viscera, what's going on in the organs, going out to the muscle or tension or tissue, or biomechanical or like structural. All of those things show us what's going on.
When did you start doing this like total body assessment? Like how long were you in practice? And then not only how long ago, but why did you decide to?
Oh, it's perfect. Well, the why was because of the pain management. Okay. So I was renting a space. I was as soon as I finished school here, Roger Kaiser asked me to help start an athletic program over at Mount Bethel Christian Academy. So that's part of the getting into the community. So I was in the community, I was teaching, doing some stuff like that. And then Dan Boswell, I can remember this like it was yesterday too. He goes, "You're too good as a chiropractor, you got to quit." And that was it. I was like, all right, I had to start looking for an office space, figure out what I was going to go do. I was just adjusting people at the school and then at my house a little bit just to kind of stay fresh, right? And I went into this office. It was kind of a slow office. It was a doctor's office that was there. I rented space from him. We're watching that practice develop. The majority of things that I did is I sit and wait for our friends to show up and adjust them to turn the power on. And so running a practice like that, if you get that mindset that you're here to help people thrive and be healthy, you don't sit around waiting for the next back pain, neck pain to show up. You go to people and go, "Hey, have you even tried chiropractic? Let me show you. If you get off my table, you will see a functional change every single time you step off." And so starting that practice as an athletic trainer, I put those two and meshed them together. And I went through what's called that total body. We adjust every joint that's not moving through its full range of motion. We know that that's a stress on the body. So if the body's not moving through its full range of motion, that's a stress. Well, chronic stress creates chronic diseases, especially in downregulation of the brain and the nervous system. So I knew at that point, I was like, okay, I got something. How do I piece it together with all these mentors that I've had and then make it something that I can easily reproduce over and over and over and show patients the functional change?
And so you have this like vernacular, right? Like you have in your office. Are there other things in your office that you've kind of created words for and language around as well?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like simple things like, and structure and function. I mean, it is one of those things that we always talk about. We're not a pain management office. We are you come in, it's a vitality. we change and upregulate the brain. What we're doing is circulation, neuro and blood, to get the body thriving and functioning better. Because what are we doing all day long anyway? We're sitting. And is that the worst thing on our spines? Pretty much, right? And so this type of dynamic is what we start to do. So for us, it was more about hide your nose, don't tell me. I've got an education. We're just as educated as the medical profession. Let us use our knowledge and see what things we can see change. And so we see people and this is how we started it. I started seeing people on day one and not charging on day one to get the money out of the equation. Day two, they paid. And we saw them twice in the first week, 2 days later. And every single time, come see the building. Got it? It's working. It's not like they come back on the second visit and go, yeah, I don't really feel anything. They feel something on day one. If you get a good adjustment, how do you feel getting off the table?
Amazing. Light.
Right?
Great.
Yeah, amazing, right? And so that's the goal. And I wasn't really into the whole, you're going to have to come in 6 times a week or 3 times a week or this structure, that kind of stuff. I really wanted it to be, what do you get adjusted? How often do you get adjusted? So I wanted it to be like as real as I can make it. I get adjusted this often, and this is why. If you ran a chiropractic office, you would get adjusted a lot more often too.
Well, it's interesting you say this because, I mean, I'll talk to chiropractors sometime, or patients come to the office and I'll say, how often have you been going to the chiropractor? And they go, I go like once a quarter.
Oh,
and
hear it all the time.
Ask the chiropractor how often they get adjusted.
Beautiful.
Because if they're getting adjusted, twice a month, and they're recommending once a quarter, it's like there's a huge disconnect. But one thing that's like interesting to hear you talk, and hopefully people are gathering this, is there's a language of confidence you have that you're speaking to, right? And so if I were to go into your office right now and I asked your staff and I said, what do you hear Dr. Bob say all the time? They'd probably be like, hide the nose.
Yeah.
They'd probably say structure and function. They would say,
this works every time.
There's language that you have in your office that is consistent, I would assume. And that to me builds confidence and clarity. And that's huge.
But that's what we're lacking, I think. That's where we're lacking it. And we're stuck to refer out. We're stuck in this model that you don't treat diabetes. Well, no, we don't. You don't treat, heart disease. Well, we don't, but they're not treating it either. So what we have to understand is somewhere along the line, there's a disconnect, and we need to help that body connect those pieces and get the body moving in the right direction. And this is where I had a lady in the other day, and we still have a doc that I just hired that was an intern, and his jaw was around his ankles because the lady walks in wearing a mask, no big deal, but like just to get kind of the dynamic. She walked in, she was a strong referral, which most of our clients are referred. It's a strong referral, so I knew I was on the right track with her. She was talking about neck pain. We went over, we kind of went through our assessment. I said, I talked to her about, by the way, she got off the table, felt great. But I talked to her about some of the liver problems and some of the digestive. She came back on her second visit and she goes, I have mixed feelings. I said, okay, well, let me know. She goes, well, I felt fine getting off the table and I felt better. And my neck is actually less, there's not as much pain. But I'm worried about my liver now and I'm worried about my digestive system. And I stopped her and I said, well, then who should you have this conversation with? Well, one with us. But what else? The medications that you're on. I asked her about hot flashes. I asked her, well, I'm on a patch for that. I didn't have them. Well, that's the liver. If these doctors start to understand that there's a correlation between that visceral somatic and not just going, where do you hurt today? That's where these kids or these doctors, that's how you set yourself apart. I don't have to advertise or market.
Well, I think it's interesting is you do assessment of 100 clinics that say they are subluxation-based wellness
100%.
Clinic, and you ask 100 patients in those offices, why do you come to this office? I would bet at least 70% of them would say, because they help my pain.
Yeah.
They help my back pain.
My back, my neck. Yeah.
Although the chiropractor thinks they have a wellness practice. But the reality is I don't think they do. And you mentioned earlier, you were talking about different mentors or like people who, you've talked about early on. If I were to pull up your Audible, your podcast, your books you're listening to right now, who are the people right now that you're looking up to and that you're listening to, and whether social media, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be chiropractors too, by the way, it can be anybody.
Well, and that's what's neat about it, right? There's so many different, avenues. There's some people out there, to me, it's not about one thing. And I don't just, I'm going to buckle down this weekend and read one book. I can't tell you the name of this one because it's one of these ones I got to really wrap my head around. But cause some of it's so deep and entrancing that you get sucked in. And it's like you have an idea what you're going, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, I didn't think of that. How does that relate to what we're doing? So like the chestnuts, the mind, body, that kind of stuff. You got to eat, move, and think well. Those are great ideas and concepts. And D'Onofrio was always a big mentor of mine, but I still have some old recordings of him that I just watched and listen to those things all the time over and over.
Where would people find that now? D'Onofrio stuff, by the way. Is there?
Well, I think they're trying to, and the Y files, I teach for them, so I think they're coming back. I don't know how much more they're going to be doing of that, but these are all, as students, partake in. But as doctors, we forget. We get in the office, we work, we struggle, we try to pay the bills, and then we leave on a weekend and we're like, I'm not doing anything. You know what I mean? And I think role modeling is one of the biggest things that we can do to help this profession. If you want somebody to be healthy, then lead them in that direction. Don't tell them to go skydiving. If they don't have to do too extreme, but just teach them. Eat, move, think, understand, function. Those things, getting adjusted on a regular basis, those are the aha moments that they need to experience. And that's what builds a practice.
And I think not even just telling them what to do, right?
Lead them.
Be an example to your patients, right? I mean, it's funny. Sometimes my son, he'll be like, hey, Dad, you want to go for a run? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And, but he does it because he sees me, right? Like, I don't tell him to work out. I don't tell him to eat healthy. I don't tell my kids to do anything. But they want to do these things because they see how my wife and I live our lives. And the same with our patients. Like, they're watching.
Yeah.
So if I'm over there.
Oh, they're watching all the time.
All the time, right? And patients, like, they just have us in their shifts. But I mean, they see us. And if we're out there, like, we're not working out, we're making excuses for why we can't work out, and we don't get adjusted ourselves. I mean, it's just such a major disconnect.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the problems too, right? And success leaves clues. So people see you as successful. They go, well, what are you doing? I want to do that. And I want to get one more thing. Another thing that we listen to on a regular basis is Royal Lee. Like some of these, Royal Lee, some of these nutritional things from Standard Process. Like some of the concepts he was talking about way back in the 1960s. I mean, the soil's been depleted since 1936. So we know the minerals and nutrients aren't getting in. So the vitamins don't really matter until you get the minerals and nutrients in. So like understanding those things just makes you, and it keeps going back to, if we had more drugs and more surgery, are we healthier?
No.
Do we have more of that already?
Yeah.
So do we need more of this to change us? It's more about understanding what we're doing. And some of the things that we've been doing and beating our head against the wall are not getting us well. Yeah. This is where we, as chiropractors, need to step up. And I wish that, the mentors that we had, I think the students leaving now aren't getting that same kind of passion. They're almost stuck in a way where they don't really know who to turn to. We were there. I was there. I didn't really know how great this chiropractic how it was, until we're in the trenches, brother. We're doing it every day. We're seeing it work. We're seeing these things kind of change people's lives. And the magnitude of which it changes them, that's the aha.
Yeah. I would bet some of these names you're speaking of, by the way, that a lot of young students, actually, or young docs, may not even know, like Royal Lee, some of them may not even know who that is.
Yeah.
And, I remember being actually, it was Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
At Fontaine.
Yeah.
I was up there one time and visiting, and I think going beyond just like how he led like the product quality, but also the business. To me, like that was so fascinating, how they have like partnerships with their neighbors to reduce having any like pesticides within their product. I mean,
and that's it, right? And they've curated that community, as you do with your practice, as we do with our practice. It's a community-based, this is everybody, the majority of people we see, and we've got a board on our front door, right behind our front desk, that sits behind Tracy, that she's an amazing, like you create the environment that they want to be a part of anyway, that's been with us the whole time we've been in this office. And we have a window or a mirror that literally has all the new people that come in that week or that month. So every month we update it with nutrition, chiropractic, what we're doing. And it is about that community. They see their names up there. They see somebody else's name up there that they know. And that, I think, is the brilliance of really running a great practice and understanding little tidbits that they can understand, that you want to share the success. You want these people to see and understand that everybody wants to be a part of this club. They don't realize it. Think about it. Do you want health? Do you want vitality? So does your patients. They're not, our society is dumbing down a little bit, which we know, but they know, they want to be healthy. They just don't know who to go to, and they've been going somewhere for a while, and it may not be working as well, and that's where we step in.
And a lot of, a lot of the business people who I've been studying recently, actually the one thing they've been talking about is build community. And that is like, you look back in 2020, right? Like isolation, people were by themselves. It was the worst thing possible.
Yeah, 100%.
And, as time has gone on, what you're starting to find is that people are looking for connection. They're looking for community.
They've always been. And that's it. Yeah. That's it. That's always been.
I think maybe they realized it more.
Well, during
COVID for sure, like
100%.
how important it was to have like a tribe and people who are like you or that want to like kind of level up. For me, like, listen, during COVID, it really exposed like who my real friends are.
Oh boy, I was just going to say that. That's it.
Like who's my real community actually? maybe I'm not, my community is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Do you guys do core values by any chance, like at y'all's office?
Oh yeah, but the neat thing, like you're just saying, so to me, I'm racing to get to my office today. Like I'm here just to squeeze this in, only because it's so great to be there. Are you kidding me? Like I don't really, like, great that I'm here and hanging out with you, but I'd rather be in my office because it's all like-minded people. They all understand what we're doing. They all talk about, like I got a text this morning from a guy who gave blood last weekend and his cholesterol was elevated. And I'm just a text going, hey, is that okay? But of course it is, because what time of the day did you give the cholesterol or did you give your blood work or give your blood? And it was like around 1. Well, you've been eating. So it's just, and it was like 220, right? That's not even high. However, in the media, above 200, we're worried about it. So it's like this community, like it's so much fun to be a part of it. My wife works there. We've got a dietitian. We've got, like the practice has just exploded into this thriving community of people wanting to be a part of being healthy.
And I think one thing that's great is, and this is one thing I tell all young docs too as well, or even people who've been in the profession for a long time. I mean, I'm 15 years in, and I know you've been doing it a little longer than I have, but I mean, I love this profession now more than I did when I walked across that stage.
There isn't a better time to be in this profession
For
either.
sure. And they used to tell, I remember back in school, they used to tell us that. There's no better time to be in this. And I was like, what are y'all talking? Like, to me, I thought it was more of like a gimmicky comment. But now that I'm in, I'm like, man, I get it. I get what they were saying now.
Yeah.
This is and if anybody's out there right now, like thinking I'm miserable, I'm not having fun, like reach out. Like we're talking community, reach out, like to any of us.
When is my phone off? Like let's go ahead, reach out. This is part of what we've done. And I think, having 40 some peak docs out there, like I just reached out to me the other day with some things that we're going through, and all of them, doc, whatever I can do to help out. Like it's just this amazing community, but we've also given. I mean, come on, in this profession, if you're not a giver, like you're in trouble. You all are. I mean, that's it. You have to give. That's how we get hurt. I mean, honestly, we're trying so hard to get something to move. We're trying so hard to do something for somebody. A shoulder, a back, or whatever. But understanding, I mean, we know this, the technique and what we do and how we take care of people, but that is the great chiropractors are the ones that are out there that are giving and in abundance. They are there for those docs that come in. Our door is always open. It's a revolving door. People are coming in all the time to see, to shadow. We had 2 physical therapists in there because we've got a reputation, and this is not my reputation, but we have 14 pregnant women in my practice right now that are all throughout their pregnancy. And I'm like, but if you took care of these kids at 16, 17, 18, all the way through, and now they're 26, 27, they're having kids, well, guess what? It's part of the evolution. And now these children are going to actually thrive and understand why we're doing what we're doing.
It's cool to, now that's like when I started, I have kids who started seeing me, by the way, and they were like 8, 9, 10 years old. Now they're 23, 24, 25.
Isn't it awesome? Coming back from college and stuff?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's funny because their parents may have like dropped off of care, but these kids, when they come in from college, they're like, hey, I've been so excited to come see you. I'm like, man, they get it. Like they get it.
Because they miss it and they understand it. Right? And they're young, and the vitality. Now the parents, and the reason they fall off is not their fault, right? It's not your fault either, docs. It's literally, they get busy. They just get going, and they forget how good it feels. And it's not a drop-off by not coming in the next week. It's a gradual descent. And so if they understand that gradual descent still is leading them away from health, if we can get them a little spike, and this is where that assessment, that functional assessment, where it's not just, where do you hurt? It's get on the table, let me show you what we found. I love when they come back. And we don't tell them I told you so. We say, welcome back.
Yes.
Hide your nose. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that's the worst possible thing you can do to a patient is make them feel guilty or bad why they haven't been in, right? Like, and I do hear that from guys. They'll be like, oh man, where you been? I haven't seen you in so long. You're making your spine worse by not being here. I'm like, dude, no, just be like, great to see you again.
But remember, brother, that's the problem. Yeah. Everything has been sold to them through fear. Fear is the biggest sale. If you can scare them into doing something, scare them into a postural correction, or look at how arthritic this is, or look at that, then they go, oh my God, I need this. Instead of going, no, let me just show you how functional you're not doing well, and let me show you the change. And if you feel the difference, you can come back.
It's fun. So that's one thing we actually will train our docs on in the beginning is, a lot of them are believed to sell with fear. And for us, it's like, no, lead through inspiration. Like inspire them to want to make a change. Not through fear, but through inspiration. Show them what's possible for their life. And I think that's like I know you're doing that too as well. And it's good to get that validation too as well.
100%.
That because more people need to be hearing that. It's like, someone's not going to die from subluxation.
No.
Tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you're not, if you don't come in.
You have the deadly disease.
And stop going that way. Because it makes it sound sound silly about it.
Yes.
Just get them, and they do understand. We think they don't know what we know because we've been doing this for so long. They do understand function. They do understand health. They do understand eating a Snickers bar versus an apple. They know, but they want the Snickers bar.
And they've seen their family, how like they've regressed in health, and they don't want to go that direction.
Oh, and they see it now too, right? And that's the powerful thing. I don't want to end up like my parents.
That's what we hear all the time. And then, as we kind of wrap up, I think one of my best questions that I love to ask everybody is, what year did you graduate chiropractic school, by the way?
23.
2003.
Okay,
sorry, yeah.
Geez, 2003. Yes,
I just graduated.
I'm killing it.
Crushing it.
Yeah.
So what was that? 21 years ago. So if the 2024 version of yourself was like on the other side as the 2003 version is crossing stage, Sid Williams is handing you your diploma. What does the 2024 version give to the 2003 version of Dr. Bob? Like, what advice are you giving that person?
Wow. You know what you do? I would love to have had a mentor. We had great ones. No problem with that. That's amazing. But to be able to go, listen, this is how powerful this is. You hear about how powerful it is, but you don't get this knowledge and this much confidence until you watch it work over and over and over. And I would say to my younger self, I thought about that one. It's literally get in the trenches, get going, get started. You're not going to hurt anybody, even though at school they scare the crap out of you. Lawsuits, just unbelievable. Never had a suit. Never had any, nobody's ever, but you know why that is? Because I practice from here, but I use this. Mm-hmm. Got it? I'm using my heart to really go, what can I do to help you? And what can I do to really engage you to be well? And what can I do to help out and get you going in the right direction? So I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah, we actually get right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But do care.
Correct.
Because they're looking for that. How many times do they go to their doctor, their other docs, and all they do is look down? And they punch on the thing, and then here's your drug.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're telling me you're getting text messages, right? Like it's the same thing, right? Like we're getting constant
it's all the time. And I wish, that's one of the things. And we had great mentors and stuff like that. But I wish I knew now what I know then, or I knew then what I know now. But you don't. You have to grind your teeth. You have to get in there. You have to be a part of it. And that's where I think even the peak program, all that stuff, it needs to have that kind of. These doctors are not there to take notes and to just sit around and do nothing or whatever. They're there to get their hands on confident and chiropractic people that are already coming that are going, give me more, show me.
And the patients know whether you've got confidence or not. They sniff it.
They do. Totally.
Well, dude, thank you so much for doing this today. We really appreciate this, and we'll put your information in the show notes, by the way, where people can connect with you. Whether
they'd love to.
Instagram, websites,
no
all that'll be in all the show notes. So thank you guys so much for listening to Thriving Chiros, and we hope you have a great day.